Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Morgan Thorne and I teach all about BDSM, both here on the internet and in real life. I teach on YouTube and I have a number of books out. I do classes and all kinds of fun stuff. You can find out more about me by following the link to my website in the description box below or up in the cards. So I know, having been young once, it was a long time ago. Dinosaurs roamed the earth. But I remember being a young person and being interested in BDSM and going out to events and finding that there was all kinds of people, like my parents' age or older, and getting really put off by it. And some of those people were a little on the predatory side. Some of them were really lovely people. They were just, really deeply old, and uncool. Because when you're 20, anybody over the age of 30 seems ancient. There are a lot of things that young people can do that will help sort of ease their way into the BDSM community and help them learn about who they are as a person and about the kink community in general. So I'm going to give you my 5 best tips on how to go about that. Now, of course, if you are of any age out there, you can follow most of these tips and you will do just fine. They can apply to people of all ages, but these ones, some of them are a little more specific to the we'll call it like the under 30, under 35 crowd. Now, I do want to point out that in order to join the BDSM community, if that's what you want to do, you do need to be a minimum of 18 years old. In some places, it'll even be a little bit older, just because a lot of events are held at bars and like adult-oriented venues. So some of them will be legal age of 18, some of them 19. That is the drinking age here in Canada is 19. So if you're going to a bar, you have to be 19 years old. And some of them it will be 21. I know in the US, the drinking age is 21. If you go up to Quebec, to Montreal, like all of us did when we turned 18, the drinking age is 18. Hence, all of us going up to either Montreal or to Hull and partying and having fun there. I'm not sure about the kink scene. I've only been to the Montreal kink scene and the Quebec kink scene since I've been significantly older than 18. So anyways, let's get into these tips. Tip number 1 is to educate yourself. Nobody else is going to take responsibility for you getting educated. You have to do that yourself. And so there's lots of ways to do that. You can hang out here on YouTube. There's lots of really cool BDSM educators here on YouTube offering free kink education. I will give you a caveat there. There are a lot of people that are offering less than good information. So you really do have to, if you're watching somebody and you're like, that doesn't sound right to me, then, maybe pass on their stuff, move on to somebody else, because, it's the internet. Not everybody is here for good reasons. Not everybody is here to be helpful. Some of them are here for their own personal gain, for their own personal reasons. Now, you're going to find a lot of people like myself where this is my job, is to educate people. And the only reason that I even have this job is because my peers have found that my education style works with them, that my information is correct, things like that. So if you can find other educators here on YouTube, on other platforms, by all means, I really encourage you to get your information from multiple sources, not just one, right? Like, I'm teaching you guys about kink in the way that I understand it. And that's awesome, I think, personally, but it may not necessarily resonate completely with you. And there may be other people that speak to your identity better. I can only kind of come across from my own perspective. So educate yourself, because like I said, other people are not going to be as invested in you getting educated as you are, right? Tip And number 2, avoid, and this is kind of similar to the first one, avoid mentors and trainers and things like that. And I'm sure that's going to be really controversial. I'm going to do a whole video about mentors at some point soon, but generally, somebody who does not know you, who says, I'll be your mentor or I'll be your trainer or whatever, they do not have your best interest at heart at all, full stop. I come out here, like I said, I here on YouTube, I'm teaching people stuff because this is my job. And I get paid for this. Not so much the YouTube stuff, but if you buy my book, I make money on that. And that's why I'm able to do it. Because if I wasn't getting paid for this and I had to work a regular job, I wouldn't have the time to make all these YouTube videos, to do all this kind of stuff, right? So keep those kind of things in mind. People are doing things for a reason. So if somebody is like, hey, I don't know you, I'll mentor you or I'll train you. I talk about training in just a second here, but you have to ask, what are they getting out of it? Now, if this is somebody that you've developed a friendship with, that's cool. They're getting, some friendship points back. But just be very, very wary, at least. If you don't avoid them completely, be very wary of people that are calling themselves mentors or trainers. The other thing, too, is that when you are brand new, you have no idea how to tell if somebody is full of shit or if they are telling you the truth, right? Because you just don't know enough about the subject matter to know. Also, what is it that you want them to teach you, right? So you have to, because usually somebody that's going to teach you something will teach you something specific, right? Like on this channel, I have a very wide berth of different things that I'm teaching. We talk about consent, we talk about different skills, all kinds of stuff. But like, that is so much. So usually when somebody looks for a mentor, they're like, okay, I need a rope bondage mentor who's going to show me how to do these things. And you can find somebody within your local community who does rope and, maybe go from there. But just like a random mentor, it's just not a good idea. Now, the other thing, trainers. We see a lot of these trainers, we see a lot of these mentors now, and they, like, I don't understand the whole trainer thing. Like, training is a kink, okay? Flat out, training is a kink. Nobody needs specific training. There's no official training for it to be a submissive, to be a dominant, to be anything. There is absolutely, because there is no one true way to do any of these things, right? So there is no official trainers or anything like that. So I would really, honestly, completely and utterly avoid anybody who calling themselves a trainer, and especially if they expect sexual contact, if they expect photos of you, if they expect anything like that, I would avoid. And if you are looking to learn a specific skill, okay, so if you were like, I want to learn how to use a flogger, and I'm going to, go to this person who's really good at floggers, and they're going to teach me, I would expect either that we'll do some sort of trade, if I don't know them very well or something like that, that I will be expected to trade something. And usually we're going to be talking about like a skill that I have. I'll teach them and they can teach me their skill. Or, if I want to go a little more formal, I can find somebody that is an educator and I can pay them money to teach me. And you can do group classes, workshops, things like that, or you can do one-on-one. But you should never be trading sexual favors and stuff like that, because it just sets up a bad power dynamic where this person has like the knowledge, the power, and that, and you could be taken advantage of. So that's like the big thing there. Don't get taken advantage of. And I will also say that especially, so the sexual taking advantage of tends to happen to the young submissive women and people identified as like on the sort of femme spectrum, or assigned female at birth. A lot of people that are non-binary or agender, if they're assigned female at birth, will be read as, a woman. And people sometimes don't respect varying identities. So they will generally be exploited for sexual stuff. And you just don't want to send compromising photos to somebody and have them show up on a porn site or whatever. Like, I'm all for people who want to engage in the adult industry. I have been a part of the adult industry for a very long time. Cool, whatever. But just don't end up there by accident, right? Make a conscious decision, a conscious choice. Now, on the flip side of things, young and older male identified type people, quite often are exploited for money, right? And this should not surprise anybody who has lived in society ever. That's the way our world works. So if you find somebody who's saying you need to buy like a training kit that they will, from the first message they're talking sexy to you, or that they don't know you but they're going to take you on as a slave, it's a scam. And again, I've done a couple of videos in the past about different scams, and I'm going to do more videos about scams because there are so many out there. So don't fall for those kind of things. It's one thing to buy a $20, a $30, a $50 ticket to a workshop or a class that's being put on by a known educator or a local community group or things like that. It's another to spend hundreds of dollars on a person you've never met, never seen, that you can't verify their reputation in the community. Okay? Big difference there. So, generally speaking, we're going to avoid mentors, people calling themselves mentors or trainers, just because there's a lot of pitfalls there. And like I said, I will do a follow-up video getting more in depth on those subjects, but I'm not saying that all of them are horrible people. I'm sure there's occasionally a very good one out there. And mentorship used to be the way we would learn before the internet, before all of this, books were common, things like that. We did learn through mentorship, but you still had to be friends with the person. You had to have a connection, because nobody is just going to put in their time and energy for free, for nothing, for no return, right? So I hate to be so transactional and whatever, but we live in the real world. Time is money and all of that. So people need to have some sort of investment in you, friendship, whatever, in order to really want to take on such a big responsibility. Okay, so number 3, and this would be how, if you really do want a mentor or somebody like that, this is how you're going to get one of those people. And if you don't want one, this is how you're just going to meet your community, is join your local TNG group. TNG stands for the next generation. And these are groups specifically for people under either 30 or 35. It depends on the location and the people running the group where that cutoff is. My local groups, so like Toronto and that, usually it's 35. Now, these are groups that are specifically catered to young people. And it's not necessarily they're all inexperienced. A lot of people, by the time they hit 25 or 30, will have quite a few years of experience within the kink scene. I know I joined the scene very young, and by 25, I had a couple of years experience under my belt. Well, more than a couple of years, to be honest. By 25, I'd been in the scene for 7 years, because I basically went out and joined up as soon as I was old enough to do so, because I always knew that this was what I was into. So you're going to find people that have varying levels of experience, and age doesn't correlate with experience necessarily. I've met people that are, in their 50s coming out for the very first time ever. And then I've met younger people that have some amazing levels of expertise and are better than I am at a lot of things. So don't mistake age for experience, but your TNG group is going to be where you're going to find that connection in that community. There's nothing saying you can't come out to a regular munch or group where there's going to be people of all ages. I would encourage that as well. But for your first one, or if you're just worried about feeling just not fitting in, things like that, you may feel more comfortable with the younger crowd. Most cities will have a TNG, and And sometimes they'll have like different names, but usually there will be some sort of like under 30, under 35 kind of group. And I just feel that, a lot of people will feel more. I know I felt more comfortable when I was younger. I wish there had been those kind of groups. Now, some people will complain about TNG. I'm actually going to do a whole video talking specifically about TNG groups. So that will come up after this one. So keep your eyes open for that, because I will get into some of the criticisms about TNG and all of that. But for now, we're just going to leave it at, really, honestly, look it up, see if there's one in your area, and go out and join them. Generally, TNG groups will run munches, and sometimes they'll also run educational events and parties and things like that. So tip number 4 is to focus on friendship. Make some friends. All the other stuff will follow in time. So don't go out to a munch or a TNG or whatever and expect that you're going to meet the one or the partner or whatever. Just go, make friends, and enjoy yourself, because everything else will sort of fall into place after you've done that. I think we get a lot of people out, and again, this applies to all ages, not just young people, but we get some people who come out and they are so laser focused on, I must, meet the person of my dreams tonight, and it becomes really obvious, and they don't make friends, and they don't talk to anybody that falls outside of their age range or their preferred orientations or whatever, and it's really obvious, and it comes off as really kind of creepy. So just focus on making some friends. Everything else will fall in place. And if you are already in a relationship, well, then obviously, again, focus on making some friends. And even if you have like an open relationship or a poly situation or anything, just friends. Friends is a good place to start. And you can worry about all the other stuff after that. And again, I really do want to reassure you that if you can get into the community and if you can make some friends, generally speaking, it's no guarantee, it's not are carved in stone, but generally speaking, you will find people to play with. You will find people who will be interested in the same kind of things that you are. And it feels really good to just be a part of that, And finally, tip number 5. Oh my goodness. I've been talking for so long and we're only at tip 5. But basically, don't worry if you are unsure about your labels or about where you fit in the community. The important thing is to just explore different things. Say, hey, I'm kind of interested in this. Let me take a look at that. Let me try that. And just keep things that fit for you and get rid of the rest of it. I know when I first started in the scene, I was a young woman, and I got pigeonholed by a lot of people. And I think more of them said, oh, you must obviously be submissive, because there just tends to be more in the realm of male dom, femme sub kind of things out there. But then I had some people who said, oh, you must be dominant. And it wasn't anything to do with me. It had nothing to do with who I am as a person. It had everything to do with their projection and their desires and what they wanted me to be. And it took me quite a while of exploring, of figuring out myself, to really come into my own and to feel comfortable with who I am and to know that I am, a dominant and a sadist. I do have some masochistic tendencies that I explored a bit when I was younger, not so much now that I'm older and have chronic pain and all kinds of health shit going on. But, it took me a long time to gather up all of the labels that I have not earned, but just come up with over the years, where I've figured out who I am. For those of you who are unsure of, let's say, your sexuality, it took me till I was in my 30s to figure out that I was asexual. I went through all of the labels. I've talked about it in one of my Pride videos many, many years ago, but I first thought I was a lesbian because I wasn't into men. And then I realized I wasn't into women in the same way either. I kind of was not attracted to both men and women, so I was like, well, I must be bisexual. I don't know how that made any sense in my brain, but Asexual was not a thing that I had access to at that time. So I was like, well, that must be bisexual. Okay. And then later on, I figured out, like, I'm asexual, but panromantic. I will date people of all genders. And I'm also an equal opportunity sadist. I don't care what you have in your pants. I will torture it. But, so don't worry if you don't have all of the labels figured out right this second. You'll figure it out eventually. And if it changes 5,000 times, that's okay. If you're like, I'm definitely a sub, and then, no, wait, I'm a switch. No, wait, I'm a dom. I've seen lots of people go through that sort of progression, or go the other way. I'm definitely a dom. No, maybe I'm a switch. Oh, wait, submissive. Oh, wait, you know what? I'm not even into power exchange at all. I'm actually just a bottom, or I'm a masochist, or I'm a hedonist, or whatever. None of that matters. Just worry about what you're interested in. Don't constrain yourself with labels, and don't find yourself in a position where you're like, oh my God, I identify as a dominant, so I can only do these things. I have another video, which I will link in whichever corner, that talks about how activities are not dominant or submissive. And so you can sort of see that you can do whatever you like, as long as you have someone to do it with that consents to that, or you can do it by yourself or whatever. But you can do whatever you want. And as long as we have consent, that's the important part. And don't let others define you. Like I said, don't let somebody walk up to you and say, you must be this, because that is all about them and not at all about you. Some people will genuinely try to be helpful and be like, hey, have you explored the concept of being a little? You have some tendencies that maybe go in that direction, or a pet, or whatever, and that's helpful. They can point you in a direction. But if they say, no, you're definitely this, or you're definitely that, don't worry about it. Anyways, guys, that is my 5 tips for young people. Sorry if it was a little rambly. I haven't filmed videos in a while, and that means that I have a lot that I need to say. Basically, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, I just don't shut up ever. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you stick around and watch a few more. I've given you some suggestions in this one, and I've got all kinds of them. So enjoy, and I hope to see you out at an event sometime in the future.